Good morning, everyone. It is January 30th, Monday, and as promised, I'm going to be talking all about macros today. What I do, what works for me, and just teaching you guys all about this, because I know when I first started, like, there's so much information. It's super overwhelming. You can just Google, like, oh, what's IIFYM or what's flexible dieting. You're gonna get 350 articles that all have different opinions and whatnot of how to do things. So I'm just gonna do it simple and how I learned, and hopefully you guys can learn from it. So there's macro and micronutrients. We need both to survive. Our macronutrients are going to be what we need in like higher volume to survive. So like carbs and fats and proteins, that sort of thing. Our micronutrients are going to be what we need in smaller quantities, such as vitamins and minerals. And when you're doing these crash diets and these yo-yo diets all the time, you're not probably getting what you need of either, because you're just sending your body, and most of them are sending your body into starvation. You're going to lose the weight, but as soon as you start eating like a normal person, you're going to gain it all back, and it's not realistic to diet forever. For a time it's great, but after a while you're either one going to get burnt out, or two just realize, like, is it really worth being miserable or always counting my macros? So I personally think everyone should count macros for a certain amount of time, just to learn portions and to learn like what is actually in the foods you eat, because you'll be amazed. Like a tablespoon of peanut butter before I counted macros for me was like 4 tablespoons. So when I actually had to weigh it out, it was like, holy cow, like, and 1 tablespoon to 4 tablespoons is like a 600 calorie difference. So stuff like that, it's a big deal. But as I said in my last video, I've switched over to more intuitive eating now, because I know portion sizes. I would say 9 out of 10 times I can look at a piece of chicken and be like within a few grams of being right. So it's super helpful because I know what I need. So I can be like, okay, that's 4 ounces of chicken, or that's maybe 8 ounces of chicken. I don't need that much, so I'm gonna set some aside and have it later. So super helpful. So the goal is to teach you the macros and micronutrients and things, to know what you need, and then eventually not have to track. So you also have your fiber, your sugar, and your sodium, which is a commonly asked question. If you count macros, they're like, oh, how do you keep track of that? What's okay, what's not okay? I'm not super good about tracking my sugar. I really don't eat a lot of sugar. I have maybe like some Halo Top every once in a while, like a bowl of cereal, but for the most part I stick to oats and like Sara Lee 45 calorie bread, that sort of stuff. But I would say anywhere from 60 to 80 grams of sugar a day is a comfortable, decent range. I wouldn't do much over that. As far as sodium, I really don't watch my sodium. I don't retain water super bad, and I'm not training for a competition or something, so I don't really watch it that much. I try to stay within like the recommended daily amount, but I honestly rarely hit it. I use sea salt on everything, so sea salt is way better than the table salt, so I don't even track that. So then we're gonna get to the basics. How I track is MyFitnessPal, and I will show you what it looks like. Just go to App Store. I think there's other apps out there, but this is what I've always used and I love it. And there's a paid version. I've always used the free version. It works just fine. So that is what it looks like. Download it, and I do it the night before. I log everything I'm going to be eating the next day, and then at the end of the day, just make sure all my numbers match. Going a couple over my fat today, but super simple. The first couple weeks it's annoying just having to track everything, but then you get really good at it, really quick at it, and it seems like you're recent. And I eat pretty much, I go through phases, and I eat pretty much like the same 3 or 4 things for a week straight every day. So I don't do clean eating because I got tired of eating the same thing day in and day out, but I kind of do the same thing with flexible dieting, just with foods I actually like. So it's not hard once you get in the habit of it. Yeah, you have your home screen and your diary screen. And so your diary screen, like I said, is where you're going to track all your food. And your home screen is going to tell you how many days in a row you've tracked and whatnot. All your friends on MyFitnessPal, what they're doing, I hardly ever use that. That's my cat. Then it also has a barcode, which is super helpful. So instead of having to search, spend a lot of time searching for whatever you're eating or the food you're eating, if you go to the top, you go to, okay, so go to the diary, click add food. There's gonna be a little barcode up there in the corner. So super makes it easy, makes life a lot easier, especially when you're in a hurry. And I recommend, especially when you're beginning, I don't always do it now, but planning ahead. So the night before, enter everything you're gonna eat the next day. So you're kind of still meal planning, so you don't go off track. And so you at least have like a game plan for the next day. So you're not like every meal like, oh, what am I gonna eat? And then you're snacking while you're making your meal and all that. So I try and do that, and you can delete and add, change as needed if you have a different craving or want something else. But I try and enter everything the day before. So you're set up to win already. So that works really well for me. Protein is the hardest thing. People can't seem to hit it when they first start out. So I recommend either, if you don't, a lot of people don't like protein shakes, which is understandable. So because I personally am not a huge fan. I love PE Science protein powder, and I can drink that in a protein shake, but otherwise I don't like the chalky, gross feeling. So it's what I would recommend when you're just beginning trying to hit proteins, is just slowly increase your portion sizes with your meals. So if normally you would have like 4 ounces of chicken with your dinner, just do 4.5, and then 5, and then 6, and slowly increase it. Also things like Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, different things you can snack on throughout the day. Try and choose like higher protein snacks. That will help. People never have a hard time hitting their carbs. So is what happens a lot of times when people switch to flexible dieting. They're like, oh my gosh, I can eat Pop-Tarts and this and that. That's great. But you're gonna find out really quick, if you have 3 Pop-Tarts for breakfast, you're gonna be eating chicken and broccoli for the rest of the day. So do not recommend just going crazy. It allows you to eat the foods you want in moderation. I personally, at first I was eating like all the Pop-Tarts and all the fun stuff, but for one, they don't keep you full. I prefer oatmeal and that sort of stuff because it actually gets me to my next meal without like feeling starving, because if you eat like a fast digesting sugary carb, you're gonna be hungry pretty quick. So also be smart with what you're eating. Don't instantly jump to all the candy bars and Pop-Tarts just because you can now, unless you don't have a big appetite. But still make sure you're hitting your micronutrients. So I don't like salads when my macros are high, just because it's like all the volume. I'm not hungry when my macros are high. So when my macros are low, I love salads, but I still try and get, even when my macros are high, like in my egg whites, I like to put spinach, or try to have a small salad, something each day to make sure I'm hitting those micronutrients as well. And as far as with carb goals, try and hit between 1 and 5 grams. Don't try either, I say 1 to 5 over or under, you're fine, but be careful not to go over that because it adds up quick. Fats are more important to stay within like 1 to 3 grams, I would say, because fats have 9 calories per gram as carbs have 4. So your fats are gonna add up quick. If you go 10 over on your fats, that makes a big difference. Same with proteins. I'd say between like 1 and 5, 1 and 10, you're okay, but try and get as close as possible always. A lot of people at the end of the day do like macro bowls. So if they have macros left over at the end of the day, they'll maybe get a scoop of Halo Top and throw together just a bunch of stuff to hit their macros right on. So that's kind of fun, and it makes it easier to hit your macros right on. So if you're prepping for a show or something like that, you should be hitting them like right on every day, to the gram, I would say, because that's super important. But if you're just doing macros to live healthier or to just lose a few pounds maybe, it's not super important to be like right on. Another thing is, it's not a diet, this is a lifestyle. So this is something that you, like I said, not tracking macros, but this is the lifestyle you're going to be living for years and years. So once you learn the nutrition of everything, years down the road, you're going to still be looking at that and being like, I know that has 30 carbs, I know I need a carb, a fat, and a protein with each meal. So make sure that while you're doing this, you're eating foods that you enjoy. Like I said, it's easy to do Pop-Tarts and that sort of stuff, but also don't just be eating, unless you enjoy it, chicken and broccoli for every meal, because you're going to get burnt out. And then you're going to end up binge eating, which is a whole nother video. And then as far as weighing your meats and rice and stuff, your meats you weigh after, and rice and noodles and that sort of stuff I weigh before. If you want to weigh them after, that's fine, but make sure whatever method you use, you stick to it, so it doesn't throw your macros off. So another thing about MyFitnessPal, do not track your workouts or exercise into MyFitnessPal. If you track them in, it's going to subtract calories, and it's going to tell you have more to eat, which you're either going to end up maintaining or gaining weight. So never ever track your calories or your workouts, into MyFitnessPal, because it's not going to be accurate. Now, sorry, I'm blabbering pretty fast. But how to figure out your macros. So there's macro calculators and all that online, but they've never once been even close to like the numbers that my coach had given me or something. And just because I know what my body needs, like I've done it and I've looked at it and been like, yeah, there's no way. I'm either gonna be starving or I'm gonna gain 30 pounds eating that many macros. So I super do not recommend using macro calculators. Is what I tell people to do is for 3 days to a week, track eat like you have been, eat normal, track everything you eat into MyFitnessPal, every bite, everything. And then from that, you're gonna get an idea, and you're gonna be surprised of how much you actually eat. But from that, you're gonna get an idea of your daily intake and what your body's used to, and find a number. I would subtract, depending what your goals are. If you are wanting to lose weight, you're gonna wanna be in a caloric deficit. If you're trying to gain weight, you're gonna wanna be in a caloric surplus. So if you're trying to gain weight or muscle, then you're going to wanna add to that a comfortable, I guess, intake. What sounds good, what looks doable for you. You have to do what works for you. If you're trying to lose weight, I would just start out subtracting a couple hundred calories from that a day. Like I said, fats have 9 calories per gram, so it's not super important to make sure that I don't pay a whole lot of attention to calories, but it's super important. If you're gonna have higher fats, you're gonna have to have lower carbs. And I recommend 1 gram of protein. If you're female, 0.5 gram to 1 gram per body weight, per pound. And men, I would say 1 to 2 grams of protein per pound. So protein is the #1 thing that people don't get enough of. But it's not super, you can choose. A lot of people do like the keto flexible dieting where they have higher fats and lower carbs, which if you like your fats, then that's fine. But make sure that you're subtracting a few hundred calories, I would say, from what you normally eat if your goal is to lose weight. Or maybe increase your protein and cut some fats and carbs out, and then just week by week you can adjust your macros as needed according to your goals. If you have the luxury of hiring a coach, I would super recommend it. At the beginning, it's so much easier because they're gonna give you your macros, they're gonna figure it all out for you. And with that being said, make sure you do your research on your coach before you pick one, because there are so many coaches that have no idea what they're doing. My most recent coach was amazing, absolutely. I have nothing but good things to say about her, but it's not always been that way. I had coaches that I was in a bikini prep and I literally, like, there was days I could not get out of bed because I felt so weak because I was not even getting close to enough food. So make sure you do your research for all that. And I would also say another thing, like I said earlier, like when I first started, like I didn't know the difference between a tablespoon and 4 tablespoons of peanut butter. It was just like my 1 tablespoon was 4. So get a food scale, weigh your food, weigh your peanut butter, weigh your, the only thing I don't really weigh is like green veggies because it doesn't really matter. It's not super important for me at least, but I always weigh my meats. I always weigh especially my nuts and like nut butters, carbs, like cereal. I guarantee you one serving of sugar cereal is a whole lot less than you think. So make sure you're weighing your stuff and hitting those macros as close as possible. Now, as far as refeed days and cheat meals, I like to call them untracked meals. I have tried and have only 1 tracked meal a week on the weekends, date night or whatever. But make sure that is 1 meal, not a cheat day, because a cheat day, you could end up taking in 8,000 calories, which I don't want to say it's going to ruin the whole week's progress, but it's going to slow you down a whole lot. So make sure that you plan out that untracked meal, and you're going to go somewhere, you're going to sit down, you're going to have that meal, and you're going to walk away and be done. So that's it. If you have stuff going on and there's a couple days you don't track, and you eat more than you should, just start over. Don't beat yourself up about it. It's okay, you're human. I also is what I do usually on my days when I have my untracked meal. I try and keep my carbs and fats lower throughout the day because I know I'm gonna be eating more that night. So it's just, I know I'm gonna be getting those carbs and fats, so I don't need them during the day. So that's a really good way to kind of still have a fun meal, but without ruining any of your progress or anything. Refeed days are super helpful when you have hit like a plateau and you don't want to necessarily, you're not ready to drop your carbs or throw in a bunch of cardio. 1 day a week, you're going to raise your carbs, I would say 100 to 150, and your fats and proteins are going to stay the same. I lower my fats about 5 when I do my refeed days, but it just kind of resets your body and shocks it. So that can be super, for some people it works, for some people it doesn't. It can be super helpful for weight loss. Like I said, I would recommend getting a coach if you can afford it, because they're gonna, and only you know your body best, but they're gonna be able to definitely help you figure out your macros, figure out what your body needs, and just teach you more details and workouts. So if you can afford that luxury, I highly, highly recommend it. Let me see. So I plan on doing a whole nother video, like just more in depth, like weighing stuff and meal prepping and all that. But for this, I hope you guys kind of caught on to the basics and learned something from me, because I could talk for hours and hours, but I definitely don't want to bore you guys. So I think I'm going to end the video here, and I'll be back with more information. Thank you so much for watching, guys.